Hello and welcome to Market Today. I'm Siddharth Zarabi, and we are going to take a look at Tata Technologies. The second quarter results out. Revenue is up 2%. EBITDA has grown 10%. Joining me now, live on this conversation, is Warren Harris, the CEO and Managing Director of Tata Tech. Welcome to the conversation, Warren. Good morning and a very happy Diwali to you and all your colleagues in the company.
Thank you, and good morning to you, Siddharth, and happy Diwali to everybody at Tata Technologies.
Thank you very much. Let's dive straight away into the key operating and financial highlights of the second quarter that your company has recorded.
Yeah, well, we signaled at the end of Q1 that we expected to return to sequential growth. We had been managing the runoff at VinFast. I think a number of our followers would recognize that this time last year, VinFast was one of our largest customers. We managed to backfill all of that revenue, and we've returned to growth, which is very gratifying. We've also seen margins protected, and that's on the back of some significant discipline and improvement that we've seen in areas like offshoring, people pyramid, and the management of utilization. So the business has performed very well in the second quarter, and we're relatively bullish about the second half of the year. Now that's despite some headwinds that we are seeing, particularly in the automotive sector. We've seen some decisions getting delayed in the United States, primarily because of uncertainty around the elections. I think the policy position of both sides is somewhat polarized, and so I think everybody's waiting for clarity on that before new products are confirmed. I think in Europe there's a growing concern about the challenge from Chinese OEMs, and I think many of the OEMs are looking for some form of protection from the regulator, and we expect that to play out early part of next year. So there are some short-term headwinds that we're grappling with, but as I referenced before, we expect the momentum that we've established within the company to continue, and we expect H2 to be better than the first half of this fiscal.
Warren, given the fact that there was a decline in net profit, even as margins improved on an annualized basis, can you offer us an outlook of what do you expect on these two points going ahead in the second half?
Well, the net profit was in part driven by the fact that we paid out a big dividend, and so we didn't have as much cash to invest, and so that trickled down to our net position. There was also a change in business mix from a regional perspective that had an impact on that. We think that those things will not obviously continue Q3 and Q4, so we expect the net profit position to sequentially improve through the rest of the year.
You mentioned automotives as a sector. I just want to know, what do you foresee as being your key growth driver between the different sectors, particularly automotive as well as aerospace, among others?
Yeah, well, in automotive, again, despite what I referred to before, which are tactical headwinds, we think the trajectory for the automotive industry is relatively set in and around the movement towards electric vehicles and software-defined vehicles. And our customers are investing in those transitions, and by association, those are providing tailwinds and opportunities for us to drive growth. We expect the accelerated growth in those investments that we've seen over the last 3 to 5 years to return with somewhat of a vengeance in the early part of the next calendar year, and we are planning and preparing for that. In aerospace, we are taking full advantage of two things. One, the expectation for aerospace growth is somewhat exponential. There's 23,000 productive commercial aircraft in use today. We expect that to double in the next 20 years. The Boeings and the Airbuses of this world cannot generate or cannot build enough aircraft to meet the demand. And so they're investing in things like manufacturing throughput and efficiencies through their supply chain. We're accredited by Airbus, and we're taking full advantage of that. The second vector of improvement that we are seeing in aerospace is obviously the investments that the group are making. We announced yesterday a partnership with Air India in and around cabin interiors, and also supporting their maintenance, repair, and overhaul plans for the future. They're looking to stand up an MRO facility in Bangalore, and we are certainly expecting to be very much a part of that. So both automotive and aerospace, from a macro perspective, provide significant growth opportunities that we're investing very heavily to take full advantage of.
Warren, just a quick follow-up on developments yesterday. You mentioned Air India, and I imagine the fact that there's been a relaxation in the norms in terms of design ability. I don't know whether that has any, whether you have a comment about how that can enhance delivery. And also, do you have anything to do with the new facility for manufacture that's come up in Gujarat, the transport aircraft, and is your company somehow part of it, and is the group exploiting any possible synergies?
Yeah, well, the group is investing very heavily in aerospace, not just in Air India, but with TASL, and we were all extremely proud of the opening of the facility, or the revealing of the facility that was inaugurated by the Prime Minister yesterday. We have a relationship with both companies, TASL and Air India, and we're very excited about the growth potential for the aerospace sector within the group, and we're certainly looking to take full advantage of that. You know, you referenced the relaxing of the regulatory framework as it pertains to design authority, and certainly that gives us a lot more latitude to operate independently on behalf of our customers, and so we very much welcome the change.
Could you provide an update on the performance of the technology solutions vertical?
Yeah, our technology solutions vertical is made up of two divisions. One, our education division, and the other, our value-added reseller or products division. You know, education continues to go from strength to strength. You know, we're partnering with state governments in the public sector here in India, and we continue to win business with state governments in and around the deployment of innovation labs and our e-learning platform for various ITIs and innovation centers that are being invested in. We also, from a private sector perspective, are selling our I Get It platform. And one of the big challenges of the manufacturing industry is the availability of relevant skills. And so many of our customers are investing in reskilling, and we're working with companies like Tesla and SpaceX and Boeing and Stellantis to help them improve the skill set, the relevant skill set of the employee base that they represent. So that business is going extremely well. As far as products are concerned, that business is also doing well, but it's a very seasonal business. The maintenance contracts in and around the software relationships we have with our customers, typically they are renewed in Q3 and in Q4, and so we see a dip in the first two quarters of our fiscal year, and we expect obviously that to be more than compensated for in the second half.
Can you provide some color on the order book and how the pipeline looks in the coming 2 quarters?
Yeah, the headwinds that I referred to as far as the market is concerned does not impact our order book, and we've not seen any short closing of projects that we previously won. And in the second quarter, there were some very high-profile wins that we were able to celebrate. We won a full vehicle project here in in Southeast Asia. We've also won software-defined vehicle engagements with a number of customers in Europe and in North America. So the order book continues to build, and that's what's really informing our confidence in the second half of the year. What we commented on, however, is that some decisions are being right-shifted, particularly in North America, in anticipation of clarity after the election. And some of the deals, again, with some of our customers being cautious, are coming in at a smaller TCV than we had originally targeted and planned. We expect that to change as again, clarity is provided, not just in North America, but in terms of the regulatory framework that will provide some level of protection for the European automotive industry. As that starts to be deployed, we expect our customers in that region to recommit to the investments that they need to make in new product.
What kind of priorities have you set for your management team for 2025 as far as the geographical mix of your business is concerned? Have you kind of pushed them to get into areas where you are not present so far?
Well, I've always communicated to my management team that we have three priorities: growth, growth, and growth. And this business is all about growth, and that's not restricted to any one region. We are looking to grow our business in a balanced way from a geographic perspective. So we are planning for growth here in Asia. We are also expecting a return to growth in Europe come the end of the calendar year. And again, North America, despite the headwinds, we had a very good Q2 in North America, and so we expect momentum to continue there. So there's not one specific region that we are targeting. Our approach to growth is very much broad-based.
One final question, and I'm asking you to sort of put on your industry leader hat and not just that of leading this company, which is the larger EV debate, not just connected to what might happen with regard to tariffs post-November, but specifically in the Indian context. What kind of scale-up do you see of the electric vehicle business, say maybe in 2 to 3 years' time from now?
I think that the tapering of growth in EVs has been somewhat overplayed. We still expect this year EV growth to be double-digit and close to 20%. It was 28% last year, so that does represent a reduction in growth, but it's still growth. And if you project out 2 to 3 years from now, the expectation is that at least 1 in 5 vehicles in Europe and in North America will be electric vehicles. In places like China, it's expected to be 50-50 electric vehicles versus legacy propulsion vehicles. I think in India, we have some specific challenges, one in terms of cost and the other in terms of infrastructure. And so I think that the adoption rate will be somewhat influenced by how we attack both of those issues. But I think that the trajectory for the global industry is very much towards clean energy and very much predicated upon electrified propulsion. And so, my advice to all of the players in this industry is to ensure that you're ready for that, and the value proposition that you represent is relevant for the change that is clearly going to come.
Well, that's perhaps the only constant in life and business, which is change. Warren Harris, I thank you very much for your time with us today. With that, it's a wrap on this conversation with the MD and CEO of Tata Technologies. We'll be back with more just after a short break. Stay tuned into Market Today.
welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra, and this is BTS, that's Behind the Scenes, a show where we share a sneak peek into the latest edition of the Business Today magazine with all our viewers. And this one is going to be truly special, not just for us at BT, but also to every Indian out there, because this issue is dedicated to the passing of a titan, Ratan Tata. Krishna Gopalan, the executive editor, is joining in on the show with us, and he's the one who's covered the larger than life of Ratan Tata in this edition, and he's going to be helping us understand all aspects of how the Tata Group changed for the better all through the reign of Ratan Tata and what's next going forward from here. I'm also joined by Asta Oriel, who's a correspondent with us who covers auto space, and we'll also be sharing some more updates about the buzzing EV space in this special show as well. And now, to show you a quick glimpse of the cover issue that we have right here, I have got my hands on my copy, and I'm sure you guys can also go out there. It's already on the stands and you can grab your copies too. This is all about the house that Ratan has built. That's the house of Tatas. Krishna, coming to you. Thank you so much for taking the time out. And of course, this one has been a most pleasant read that I have had. It gave so much insight about the salt to software conglomerates bigger than life that I'm sure all the viewers will also enjoy reading. But give us some sense as to what can one really expect for all those viewers who are yet to buy their copies right there. We all know how Ratan Tata was. He was a visionary leader, the best example of philanthropy that was in front of us, a role model for all the entrepreneurs, and just right at the top of India Inc. He really felt strongly about India, and his passing has definitely left a void in the Indian business realm as well. So let us start by understanding from you about the past first, where R&T, as he was popularly known as, came into the picture. Tell us, how did he really go about setting the house of Tata in order, and was it easy or very difficult for him to really prove himself right there?
Okay, thank you, Sakshi. Lovely to be here. So I'm just going back to 1991. He took over in March after the passing of J.R.D. Tata. Understandably, very, very large shoes to fill. To be fair to Ratan Tata, it's not as if he had a fantastic track record himself. He ran two companies, Nelco and Empress Mills, and in all honesty, not with any great deal of success. So there was a sense of apprehension, and if I may say so, a level of cynicism also about the young man. I'm using the word young deliberately. He was all of 53 when he took over as Tata chairman, chairman of Tata Sons in 1991. The Indian reforms process was still 3 to 4 months away, and when he came in, he sat with a group of consultants to understand where the group was positioned, where it needed to be, and what it took or what it might take to get there. A couple of points stand out quite clearly. The strategy adopted till the turn of the century, I'm breaking it up from 1991 to 1999, was to let go of a few businesses that he believed wasn't good enough for the new India. Of course, and all of us know one of them was Tomco, Tata Oil Mills Company, which had brands like Hawam soap and detergent powders and all of it. He let go of that. He sold that to what was then called Hindustan Lever Limited. Shut a whole lot of businesses, but figured out a few things. One, if he had to be accepted, he had to take care of the regional satraps. And that's a tricky one because they owe their sense of loyalty to J.R.D. Tata. I'm speaking of folks like Rusi Modi, the boss of Tata Steel, Darbali Seth, who ran Tata Chemicals, and Ajit Kekar, who ran Indian Hotels. In all honesty, in all fairness, given the fact that they expected to take over, or at least one of them expected to take over at some point after the passing of J.R.D., it did come as a rude shock to them that they had to report to a person who's much younger and who was being viewed as somewhat of a greenhorn. So he had to take care of that. So the first 8 to 10 years was in really taking care of the satraps, letting go of the businesses, and then coming to the problem, coming to the opportunity or the challenge in terms of getting Tatas ready for the next decade. He demonstrated a sense of toughness, a sense of polite firmness, if I may say so, in terms of having it his way, let go of these people, assert his position within the group, let go of key businesses, and stumbled upon something very interesting, that the group actually did not have a common logo. So the whole sense of unification or trying to understand what the group stood for became an opportunity and a challenge for him, and initiated all these at the same time. To my mind, a person coming in from a background that he did, walking into a multitude of challenges and setting the house in order would stand out as one of his most remarkable achievements.
Absolutely. Now, also, Krishna, he was also known for his big, bold decisions that for the first time, probably Tata Group was seeing, as a whole, and that greatly also helped the Tata Group get global recognition, so to speak. Talk to us about some of these big, bold decisions. How many of them really proved out to be, something that was seen as a visionary step that really took Tata Group to a stage that was not imagined that time?
It's very apparent, Sakshi, there's one thing that's very clear. He liked the word scale, and he believed that if an industry or a business did not have scale, it would be difficult for India to stand out in the modern world. And he took the first step as far as scale is concerned through a company called Tata Tea, which eventually became Tata Global Beverages, went through several avatars, and today exists as Tata Consumer Products. He went out to England, bought a company called Tetley, and for about $500 million, a huge amount of money at that point. It's still a big amount, but you must understand this was in 2000. It is the single largest outbound transaction by an Indian company. It's not so important for the money, but the fact that he was buying out a company 4 times its own net worth. So the buyer was actually swallowing a crocodile, if I may say so. And that is a tricky one. He bought that, gave him confidence once that buyout started to work, and then decided to flex his muscles quite literally. Tata Motors a few years later went out to Korea, picked out the commercial business of Daewoo, and then Tata Steel made a couple of interesting moves. They bought over Nat Steel in Singapore, bought over Millennium Steel in Thailand, but nothing, I repeat, nothing was ever bigger than what took place in 2007 when Tata Steel went out and picked up Crore. We've spoken about that in the story, where the whole attempt of R&D was don't think of the small buyouts, think big, think scale. Crore, again, like Tata Tea, was a company 4 times the size of the buyer. So Tata Steel, if you remember right, was about 4.5 million tons in terms of capacity. Crore brought forth to the table 18 million tons. And at $12 billion. So from $500 million in 2000, he was now at $12 billion in 2007. He had to raise the money, had to play the global game, and just a couple of months later, Tata Motors went out and bought Jaguar Land Rover from Ford. And the sense of quiet firmness became apparent through this whole journey of going overseas, more specifically taking the inorganic route.
Right. And when we talk about these big, bold decisions and of course how it leapfrogged Tata Group right there into the global brand, none of the journeys of the most inspiring people that we have always talked about have been sans any failures. Do talk to us about some of the biggest lessons that were learned along the way. Any of those decisions that probably Mr. Ratan Tata would have regretted?
Nothing is more obvious to me than the case of Crore. There were 2 bidders at that point. Tata Steel was one, Searson of Brazil was the other bidder. And a lot of people are quite cynical about the buyout of Tata Steel. But to be fair to Mr. Tata, I think the global financial crisis that hit all of us in mid-2008 was a black swan event. So the problem with that is China accounted for about a third of global production, and suddenly the glut of supply resulted in the collapse of the global steel market. Prices went downwards, and Crore, with its plants that weren't necessarily well run, the whole idea was to buy Crore, turn the asset around, but the global financial crisis turned everything upside down for the group. Tata Steel finally had to face a remarkably difficult scenario, loss-making businesses, a slowdown in the overall business globally, and the collapse in steel prices. Nothing could be worse than that. That's one as far as Tata Steel is concerned. Of course, as all of us know, the whole focus of Tata Steel now has been more towards the domestic market. So that itself became, I think, an example of a strategy that could be flexible as and when the moment deserved it. Even for JLR, great start. The global financial crisis again hit all of us in terms of discretionary spending, and people started to wonder why anybody would actually go out and buy an expensive car. But look at Tata Motors today. The whole success journey in terms of passenger vehicles, in many ways, the success of that can be attributed to the lessons that they picked up courtesy of the buyout of JLR. It's not as if we don't see JLR vehicles in Indian roads today. That itself is testimony to the fact that he did see a market for each of the Tata companies, not just globally but in India as well, because at the end of the day, India was the world and India led the global economy, and he lived by that tenet.
Okay. And once we have accepted the fact that he is no longer with the Tata Group to really lead it from the front, all eyes are now on Noel Tata, Krishna, and we do know that he's been appointed as the chairman of Tata Trust that actually controls 66% of Tata Sons, and the question is how well will he be able to take the legacy of Ratan Tata going forward? What is it that we should be really now expecting from here on for the Tata Group as a whole?
I think Noel Tata has made his name in the retail business. So you look at Westside, look at Star Bazaar, look at all these formats. Noel Tata has really kind of carved out a clear niche for himself. What is perhaps not really known is the fact that he sits on the boards of Voltas, Tata Steel and a whole host of other companies within the group. Noel Tata is 67. He's been low profile, known to be very sharp, known to be a tremendous people's person. In one sense, his elevation as chairman of Tata Trust was not completely unexpected. It also means that the succession within the trust part of the story is now clearly in place. As you rightly mentioned, given that they own 66% of Tata Sons, the company which is a private holding company of the group, every big ticket decision of the group will now have to be routed through Tata Sons first and then to Tata Trust for the final sign off. So the trust will continue to be powerful as far as decision making is concerned, but most importantly, it places Noel Tata in a position of strength now. How that's going to play out is going to be absolutely fascinating. In 2022, there was one amendment to the Article of Association where they said a person cannot hold two positions, meaning the chairman of the trust and the chairman of Tata Sons. So Noel Tata right now remains the chairman of Tata Trust. Sons, of course, is N. Chandrasekaran. We will need to keep our eyes open on how that relationship works out and the role of Noel Tata in the future. But one thing is clear, the succession plan having been laid out with such level of clarity and firmness, and most importantly, alacrity, because it happened a day after Mr. Tata's passing, indicates a certain sense of direction that the group is taking.
Absolutely. Well, thanks a lot, Krishna, for giving us all of those insights. That would have definitely encouraged all our viewers to really go out there and do that in-depth study, because the story of Tata Group, both past, present and future, will really give you that understanding of how India has been, what are we going through and what do we see going forward from here. Because remember, Tata Group is a huge conglomerate, like I pointed out, from salt to software and now even the skies. There is a lot more that will define the way various industries in Indian economy will shape up going forward from here too. I'm sure this is going to be an interesting read and you don't want to miss this one for sure. So go out there and grab your copies. Let's now go across to Astha, who's also on the show, and she's the one who covers the auto space, and this is the one where a lot of buzz is being seen, especially the EV space. And what she is writing on is how an electrifying war is now brewing, as we are going to be seeing and staring at an intense competition in this space going forward. So as the race for electrification heats up, how do automakers plan to bring price parity between ICE engines and EV models? I think that's the crucial question that everybody wants to know an answer to.
Thank you, Sakshi, for inviting me. First of all, we need to understand that, when we talk about electrification, Indian government has a target of 30% electrification. And while some automakers like Maruti Suzuki and Mahindra & Mahindra are, slightly behind other automakers, but their plans are intact with how they are going to forge the electrification journey. So when I discussed with automakers how they are planning to bring the price parity down between ICE and EV models, the first thing that all automakers are focusing is localization, because battery packs or lithium ion battery cells account for 30 to 40% of EV's cost. So now the focus of automakers is to get as much localization as possible in India. Second, government incentives such as PLI schemes is really going to help automakers in bringing the price parity between ICE and EV models. Also, with only 5% tax GST for EV models as compared to ICE and hybrid models, it is going to be beneficial for the entire EV ecosystem to bring the price parity between ICE and EVs.
So how the participation of more automakers will now help India to become a giant EV hub? Do you see that happening?
Yes, Sakshi, because recently even Ford has announced that they are returning back to India after 2 years of exiting the Indian market, and their focus will be to manufacture and supply EVs globally. Along with this, automakers such as Maruti Suzuki, Mahindra & Mahindra, Tata Motors, they already have plans to export EVs around the country, around the world. So this will be a huge opportunity for India to become a EV global hub.
Okay, right. All right. This is going to be an interesting story to continue to track going forward from here, and how EV continues to win more hearts of Indians as well, who have been traditionally hardcore buyers of ICE engines, which have promised them mileage. So to shift from that into a completely different zone is